Day. Tomorrow, a possible early shower and 20 again. Partly cloudy, 23 Saturday, a shower or two and 22 for Sunday. Then a possible morning shower and 19 on Monday. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Josh Sampson, talking Adelaide on 1395 5AA.
Good morning. It is 5 minutes past 5 here on Adelaide's 5AA. Thanks to Tally Jones for the latest news there. And Stone will be in after 5:30 with the fresh headlines, or the fresh news bulletin, I should say, for your Thursday morning. And I just tripped over my tongue there, because after 5:30 we will take a look at some of the big headlines for this Thursday morning. In the meantime, though, it is time for us to head over to the land of the long white cloud, across the ditch, whatever slang term you'd like to throw at it, to have a chat with our next guest. He is the editor of the EveningReport.nz, and he's certainly not unfamiliar to us here on 5AA, because he has his weekly segment, as he does with Peter Godfrey, on a Thursday morning, and he's also appeared on 5AA Breakfast as well. Selwyn Manning, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Josh. How are things?
Oh, I'm very well, very, very well. How's things over in New Zealand?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a bit of rain around this week. Certainly a little bit of rain around last night in the Auckland area. We had an overnight low of around 14 degrees, and looks like it's heading toward 19. So weather and temperature stakes, anyway, quite similar to you guys at the moment.
Yeah, it has. It's certainly been above average temperatures even for this time of the year. We've had a couple of cold mornings here or there, but certainly for this time of the year. Plus, we had certainly a well above average April with well below average rainfall. So the weather is still seeming to hold in the low 20s here in Adelaide. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our first story this morning. And the soaring costs of housing in New Zealand has driven prices beyond the reach of most Kiwis, and rents well beyond what is affordable for thousands of people. Now, you did, of course, mention, Selwyn, on 5AA Breakfast last year, that probably in some cases not too dissimilar to Australia, there is a bit of an imbalance in the New Zealand economy as well. And I guess there is a thought or a suggestion that there is almost a housing bubble, and then if that bursts, then what in the hell happens? So what's the been the latest on that over in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's a big problem over here, Josh, and it's not going away. It's actually getting worse, and getting itself, this whole housing market and this bubble that has formed, it's right into, causing concerns once again with the Reserve Bank of New Zealand and many others. But right down at the coalface, where it affects people the most, is happening right now, and it's worst in the cities. Cities like Auckland in particular, where the average home price is almost just short of $1 million per house. The demand for rental accommodation, Josh, has seen landlords renting out tin garages, in the backyard, for around $400 a week. Now, these are New Zealand dollars, and you get about $1.10, I suppose, New Zealand dollars for every Aussie dollar, for just a 28 square metre chicken coop apartment, as we call them here. That will cost you around $330 per week. If you just want an average home in a suburb that's not doing too well, then you can expect around $800 to $900 a week in rent for that. And we've seen overcrowding in Auckland, and reports coming through just daily in the last few months of people, up to 17 people living in one house with, say, 3 bedrooms. And those examples have been in the mainstream news right through, particularly last week and this week, with Radio New Zealand leading the pack. But last year, as you alluded to in your introduction there, Josh, we reported on 5AA's breakfast program about this imbalance in the New Zealand economy, and led by, like what I've been describing there, the hot property market in Auckland. It had worsened at that stage to the point where the Reserve Bank had warned in 2015 that the housing market, if it had ballooned out, if it was going to burst, then it would actually bring a significant impact on the entire New Zealand economy. Now, this year, on May 11, so a couple of weeks, just over a week back, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand once again issued another warning, suggesting that if this housing bubble bursts, the impact on New Zealand economy will be absolutely dire. Now, beyond the wider domestic economy, the impact on everyday lives for Kiwis is already as I've tried to describe there, the cost is already dire. The reality is that thousands of people have been finding themselves unable to afford to actually pay for rent, whether it be in the private rental market or in the state house area. Just there's a slight tangent there. The government has been transferring state housing into what it calls social housing, which is a mix of privately owned and socially owned or community group owned housing stock. So it's in a transition there, and it's been flogging off state houses at a time where Kiwis are really starting to feel the pinch, particularly in Auckland City, Josh.
Yeah, certainly. So when negative gearing, as I'm sure you're probably aware, has been somewhat of a hot-button issue leading into the Australian federal election coming up on the 2nd of July. And, of course, there's the usual to and fro as to whether or not people will be getting ahead or whether they will be worse off. Has that become a factor in the housing market in New Zealand as well?
No, it hasn't necessarily over here, and I know that has been much hotter from a topic point of view and a policy point of view over in Australia. Back here in New Zealand, we've gone down the road of a lot of what your guys' liberal policies are at the moment. We've already gone down that road. So a lot of the problems is in the excesses, like whatever ideology, whatever plan. The excesses of those plans are what cause problems, whether it be from the Labor side or from the National side over the side of the ditch, Josh. But, clearly what is requiring here is solution-based policies that are looking at, and I'm talking in the New Zealand context here, that are tailored for a pragmatic outcome even that is just going to make difference for the people and, that are finding themselves living in the parks, sleeping rough, sleeping in cars, sleeping in tents, sleeping in garages, sleeping in shacks, lean-tos, tents. Did I mention tents? Probably did. But all of this is the reality, and it's now in the number of the thousands. And the problem here really is that a lot of those people are not necessarily down and out without a job. They do have jobs, but the inadequacy of the job and the labour market to be able to give a decent living is one thing, and the actual this ballooning out of the housing market's another. Now, the solutions that the government is putting, out there at the moment is it's trying to pressure the Auckland Council into relaxing its city limit zones so that, if you know what I mean, I'm sure you've got the same in Adelaide and in South Australia where there's a kind of a ring fence around, and that's an urban zone.
Yes.
There's residential zones, etc., etc. Now Auckland City has been trying to work out what's the best way to go. Is it going further up, building multi-storey buildings right through to house the population in the city, or to relax those city boundaries and sprawl further out like a mini Los Angeles type of thing, or a mini Sydney. And it's probably a mix of the both that is going to come from this. But that is a long-term, and at best medium-term remedy to the problems that are existing here. So I'm just raising this issue at saying that, the news media here in New Zealand, the public, and the politicians and the business sector, this is the number one topic that has come back again in a big way, and probably because, too, that we're all aware that winter is just arriving now. And I can tell you, wet, damp, cold New Zealand makes for a grumpy population. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure it certainly can. It's probably got nothing on the winters we have here in Adelaide, which can be quite... it's also windy more than anything else. But, temperatures certainly dropping, no question about that. All right, Selwyn, it's 13 minutes past 5 here on 5AA. Coming up after the break, we're going to take a slightly slightly more light-hearted look at what's been happening in the news in New Zealand during the week. And there's a particular song which has got the New Zealand Electoral Commission up in arms, and it's been a parody of the New Zealand Prime Minister John Key. Now, we'll talk to Selwyn after the break, but I'm sure he's aware that here in Australia, like a number of other countries, parody and taking the P155 is one of the great things that we do to, as long as there's no slander or libel, it's one of the great things that we do in terms of engaging, shall we say, in the democratic process. Well, not so in New Zealand, because the Electoral Commission have taken a rather large amount of offence to a video which is going around featuring the Prime Minister, suggesting that this was somehow an electioneering piece, despite the fact that there was no authorisation and no other politicians who were part of it. We'll take a look at that and much more with Selwyn Manning, the editor of the EveningReport.nz, right after this.
5AA Breakfast.
I reckon you make your bed, you lie in it. Kathleen Herity has 3 children. 3 kids have lost their mother. You've killed someone through your own drug use, your own indifference, your own moral bankruptcy. Yet, audaciously, Samantha Farah now says, well, what about my poor child? I mean, what about the 3 poor kids down at Victor who've lost their mother?
5AA Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA.
My name's Jim. My pastime is running the local scout group. I was starting to feel I wasn't getting enough exercise, and I sat down with one of the exercise physiologists.
At ACH Group, we listen. Because your needs and interests are different, the solution is too.
Without the ACH Group exercise each week, going out kayaking or doing the other activities would be more difficult. So I go on Tuesdays and spend an hour there moving my body. Life's very good.
ACH Group. Good lives for older people. Phone 1300 22 4477.
I'm with Daryl Wallers of Wallers Furniture and Homewares. So Daryl, how did it all get started back in 1988?
We opened a small shop in the Barossa selling garden pots, handmade local pottery and also restoring old furniture.
You've got an incredible eye for detail. Everything is perfect that you have made for the store. Is that something that's helped to your family's success?
It has. What we've done is always loved our customers very much and what their needs and requirements are.
You have generations of families coming into your stores.
We have customers coming back 25, 30 years later talking about furniture and also encouraging their children or friends to buy.
So Daryl, in one word, how would you describe the Wallers experience?
Beautiful.
Wallers Furniture and Homewares, Mount Barker, Richmond and Tanunda.
It's the Honda sale which tops all others. Nordic Honda's free-for-all end of financial year sale. Because you get more free extras on vehicles across the dealership, like free roadside assistance, free warranty, free CTP insurance and free rego. And wait till you see the prices. Score an untoppable deal at Nordic Honda today during their big free-for-all end of financial year sale. On now, top of Glen Osmond Road.
Another top deal from the top of Glen Osmond Road. Nordic Honda.
Nordic Honda.
I find it hard to share my feelings, but there was an instant attraction. Since we've been together, I can't wait to get home. And weekends, wow. Yeah, it's love. The garage I've always dreamed of.
There's a lot to love about the Olympic Industries end of financial year sale. Huge savings you'll adore across the entire range. Garages, carports, verandas, rumpus rooms, rural or industrial sheds and more. Olympic Industries end of financial year sale. Limited time only. See our website for display locations.
Olympic Industries, built to love and built to last.
For business owners, the end of financial year is fast approaching, which means it's time to get things in order. So save yourself a lot of time and stress by getting AMA Commercial Collections to recover those overdue debts in a timely manner while preserving your current business relationships. And remember, if the debt is not collected, there is no charge. Don't write off bad debts. Let AMA collect them for you. AMA Commercial Collections. Fast and cost-efficient debt recovery. Visit amacollections.com.au.
Is our cold weather putting your hot water system under pressure? Don't wait till it bursts. Give Ken a call. We'll upgrade you to a brand new system today. Ken Hall Plumbers, your local plumbers since 1983. Give Ken a call. 8364 5855.
1395. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Josh Sampson.
18 and a half minutes after 5 here on 5AA. We're joined on the line in this just after 5 o'clock with Selwyn Manning, the editor of the EveningReport.nz. Across the ditch, we call it. Selwyn, let's get into our second and final story this morning, and I'm going to play a little bit of this, and I alluded to it just before the break, and that is that there has been a parody song of the New Zealand Prime Minister John Key going around. Now, whereas perhaps we would see it as parody in the Australian way, which is to take the mickey out of someone, even if it is the highest office in the country, the New Zealand Electoral Commission hasn't been very happy about this. There we go. So there's just a little bit of that. It's for by Kiwi musician Darren Watson and video maker Jeremy Jones, and it was released in the early stages of the 2014 New Zealand general election. But after that, the Electoral Commission moved pretty quickly to ban the song and then initiated legal proceedings in some cases that on the basis that the song was an election advert. Now, this is despite the fact that no politician or party paid for it to be created or released. Anyone can do that. So how did this all come to be? I find it rather strange that the Electoral Commission, which is, of course, answerable to the government, but isn't really tied in any way, can take this sort of step, Selwyn.
Yeah, I know. It's a reflection of New Zealand's electoral laws, Josh, being too draconian on one side and also being open to official interpretation that is draconian once again, layered upon that, really. When this ruling came out in that particular election and took that song out of play, if you like, that was right at the heart of when John Key was under pressure and his government was under pressure for what was termed as dirty politics, where they were doing huge hits on all of their opponents and members of the public and anybody that basically spoke out against them, and using attack bloggers and all sorts of networks to achieve that and basically defame and destroy people's opportunities. So it was a dirty time, and this song came out and made a parody of the whole thing. And Josh, the backstory to that was that John Key was challenged at one stage, and basically the insinuation was, look, mate, you're right out of touch with what the reality is in this country. And he said, I don't know what they said, don't know what it's like on planet Key, but the realities in New Zealand is this, and this. Now, his reply, and I'll just do a very quick quote here, the Prime Minister, I can't take off the Prime Minister, unfortunately. I'd need to have 5 whiskies and slur my way through. But not that he's a drunk or anything, but he does slur his words. But, anyway, what he says in direct quote here, he replied, I do not know much about Planet Key, but my expectations are that it would be a lovely place to live in. It would be beautifully governed, golf courses would be plentiful, people would have plenty of holidays to enjoy their time, and what a wonderful place that would be. Now, this song, end of quote, so the song came out of that Planet Key thing and absolutely kicked him in the guts over this. Now, as you alluded to there, Josh, the Electoral Commission came in and said, hey, this is basically campaign advertising here. And that was despite, like you said, no political party, no one of any interest had paid for that song to, one, be created, and two, for it to be played around the internet and on radio, etc., etc. But despite that, the Electoral Commission had threatened that they could actually, the two creators of this, could actually face a $40,000 fine. So they thought, oh, blow this, it's not worth it, we're pulling the song. And so they went, all their efforts went to trying to get it out of the road. So the song went underground and started popping up on obscure blogs and all sorts of things like that. Because, as you can probably see there, it's winding up. It's a bluesy tune. It's got a bit of a, your foot starts tapping to it. Yeah. And the other thing is Kiwis, we might be staunch on the rugby field, Josh, when we face you guys, but like to think that we're a bit like you guys and can have a laugh. Yeah. And this was contrary, really, to the spirit in which we all think we, our national identity, if you like. But anyway, this is the thing that why I raise it now is because it's been before the courts all this time, and the Kiwi songwriter, Dave Watson there, and also the video creator, they've been having to defend themselves against what they were doing as part of their job, basically enjoying writing a song and putting it out at a time where the public would probably enjoy that. And yes, there was a message there of the ridiculousness of but then if you took that line, programs like Clark and Dorr in Australia, they wouldn't exist, would they?
No, absolutely
like
not.
That. So it was obviously ridiculous. Now, it went all the way to the High Court. The High Court ruled that the Electoral Commission was quite wrong on this, that it didn't actually come into the areas of concern under the particular act, and said, the song is shouldn't be banned. It should be able to be played where it can be, and at whatever time, irrespective of whether or not it was an election campaign or not. So the Electoral Commission, the government body, decides, well, that's not good enough. It's taking it to the Court of Appeal. And this week, there's been a bit of a breakthrough where the government's body here has suddenly said, look, we're not interested in actually pinging or caning these two people that wrote the song and put it out there and put the video to it. That's not the issue. What we're trying to do here is to clarify the law so that when our election year is next year, and they're saying, so when our election year ticks over in 2017, that the actual law is very clear and we know exactly what is right and what is wrong. So that's where it's sitting now, Josh, and we'll probably get, hopefully, from the Court of Appeal, a reasonable outcome from that, and people will be able to express their creative talents once again.
And just go back on with their lives, no less. All right. Selwyn Manning, the editor of the EveningReport.nz. Good to have a chat with you again. It's been a while since we've caught up. Thanks as always for your time, and we look forward to hearing you again on 5AA Overnights next week.
Thanks, Josh. Take care.
Good on you, Selwyn. Selwyn Manning there, going across the ditch, the EveningReport.nz. And going across after the ad break, speaking of across, we're going to go and find out what's happening in the latest news with Anne Stone coming up after 5:30. And then we'll take a look at some of the other Thursday headlines, as well as your calls. That is the most important thing. 8223 0000 is the number.
G'day, this is Will Goodings. Here's your chance to get